Stuart was here and she finished Holy Comforter in 2007. She went to Leon High School and finished in 2011 and then graduated from Auburn in 2015. And I'm pretty sure you have been with the Dolphins for close to 10 years now. Is that right, Stuart?
I actually just hit 7 years, I think 2 days ago. So 8 seasons, 7 years.
8 seasons and 7 years. And then what was your position before the Dolphins?
I was at Orlando City Soccer Club, doing the same thing in social media. So I was working in Major League Soccer.
Professional social media for a sports organization. Well, wonderful. Well,
Correct.
thank you so much for talking to our students. I'm going to introduce Mrs. Young and have her introduce you to the class and allow you to do your presentation. And we're so happy to welcome you back to Holy Comforter. Thrilled to have
Thank
you.
you.
Welcome, Mrs. Young.
Hi, Stuart. Nice to meet you.
Hello.
I teach a sixth grade class that I don't even think Lawson took. It's called Foundations in Technology, where we teach the students the basics on word processing, spreadsheets, but we really focus a lot on internet safety and just how to negotiate on the worldwide of it all.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I can share my screen. Give me 1 second. Perfect. So my name is Stuart. Like Ms. Thompson said, I am from Tallahassee, and I was at Holy Comforter from the early 2000s. So I started in pre-K and went all the way through middle school. And I went to Auburn, and now down here in South Florida, overseeing social media for the Miami Dolphins, the Formula One Miami Grand Prix, the stadium that we have our games and events at, and in the Miami Open Tennis Tournament. So kind of a little there and now picture of me in my Holy Comforter uniform with my dad. I think this was probably a first day of school picture, if I had to guess, from if I probably first to second grade. And then if you can kind of see in the background of this picture of this football player, that's me in the background, and that's kind of probably the best way to define my job. From a social media perspective, our goal is to make really cool things. That's honestly, like, we want fans to see, what our job, we want to be able to tell the story of what our team is doing on the field, off the field, and communicating that to a worldwide audience. Across our platforms, we have over a couple million followers. So we reach a lot of people, and there's definitely a responsibility when it comes to that, of what we're putting out on our social channels. So kind of a few examples. Here, we have on the left, we have Raheem Mostert, who hurdled over a Carolina Panthers player, which was a very iconic image from our season. We also have, we've also, with the introduction of Formula One in the United States, kind of with the popularity of Drive to Survive, we've also been able to do some collaboration content with Formula One drivers, which is even more of a global audience than the NFL, which has been a really unique experience. And then there's videos like this. Let me see if this works, that I get to capture on the field after a win, of our players celebrating the win, that we get to put out on social media. So let's see if this works.
That's awesome.
So with that, those are moments that kind of, you always kind of have to be prepared for, and you don't expect them. So with social media, we want to make sure we're capturing those moments that the cameras might not see, the TV broadcast might not see, but it gives the feeling for fans that they are in that moment. So another kind of example here, we do some illustration content. We want to kind of change up how we're communicating out to our fans. So, it doesn't always want to be a photo or a video. We also like to do illustrations. We like to do different perspectives of your traditional videos. So as you can see on the left, this was our Thanksgiving graphic for our social media accounts. So kind of mixing in a holiday and being kind of a different type of way to celebrate Thanksgiving. And then on the right is our Formula One date announcement, where we announced what day we would be having our race on. And then I'm not sure how many of you guys are FSU fans, but Jalen Ramsey, who was a huge member of the FSU team during the national championship run, he's now with the Dolphins, and this is his return video from running out on the field after having a knee surgery. So it's a different perspective that we wanted to give fans, that we wanted to turn around in the moment. So with that, you know, I think when it comes to, you know, when I heard that you guys are going to be, guys were talking about like internet safety, things like that, there's a lot of things that we actually apply with our side of things when it comes to our planning when it on social media. So how do we accomplish making cool things? I mean, there is a process kind of behind what we do. And these are kind of your steps. So we plan. We want to see what is happening out in the social media landscape, what is relevant that would apply to our organization, and how can we make sure that it is correctly and positively impacting what we are putting out on social media. So we plan, we draft copy, so whatever the text that goes along with the medium, we review, and then we review again, because we want to make sure that we, you know, once you post something on social media, it doesn't go away. I mean, my biggest mantra is screenshots last forever. There are people on the internet that want to find those mistakes that you could make, and then, you know, use that against you. We post, and then we evaluate. We see how the actual post performed, and see if that's something we would like to continue. So one thing that I think is really interesting is that one thing that's really interesting is how active the social media landscape is. I'm not sure how active y'all are on social media, but every minute there are millions of posts that are going live across the world. And so that's how we have to make sure, how do the Dolphins, how does Formula One Miami Grand Prix, how do we stick out across all of these other platforms and posts that are going and that we're competing with? So that's why we really use those steps that I defined earlier to make sure that we are making those best decisions when it comes to our posting. Oop. And then one big thing here is that with the protecting ourselves online, you know, I think that this is important for a brand, but also for personal accounts. So we really have a very robust password protection system. It's always important. You never want to share your passwords, not to your friends, not to your cousins, nothing like that. You want to keep those so that those are in your wheelhouse and that they are not leaving. It's also important to have different passwords. You don't want to have the same password for every single piece of every single login, because if your password gets, you know, taken, they can start logging into any of your accounts. So having passwords that are difficult to crack, and then also having diverse passwords is really important. All of our passwords are over 16 characters, and we change those pretty routinely as well. Additionally, we also limit our access to our accounts. You really just need to have a valid business reason to be on our accounts. We don't want to have, you know, 30 people logged in to our account. We want to make sure it is very minimal. So again, kind of what, you know, for a personal account, it's important that you really keep that account just to being you, and not your friend or someone else who could get a login. Two-factor authentication. This is something that also can protect you from being, you know, your account being compromised, being hacked. This allows another step of security to be able to be more secure. And if someone was trying to get into your account, you would get a notification, which then could allow you to change your passwords. Another big thing is, thinking before we post, risk versus reward. This is something that we carry into all of our posts across our business accounts, but also our personal accounts. What are you posting that like might be something that could in the next few years come back to bite you? Like, is it really worth posting that? I always think from my perspective, what would my parents think about this post that I'm posting? What would our CEO think? What would a player think? So just having those different perspectives before you react and post really can help you from any sort of trouble. Excuse me. And then also the content that you engage with. I think this is something that a lot of people forget. When you are engaging with content, there is people can see what you like or comment on. And you might think that it's, you're privately liking something or privately commenting on something. 99% of the time, those comments can still be public. And you can also, that can be something that someone could see and pass along to a friend, your parents, etc. So, these 5 things are things that we also tell our players because they obviously have their own accounts and personal brands as well. So from that perspective, we just want to make sure that we're protecting ourselves, protecting our players, protecting our employees, because, if anything, you don't want to have something that you post or like that you wish you hadn't done 3 days later, and unfortunately someone's already taken a screenshot on it. The internet is it's extremely public. It's, there's no privacy on the internet. So I would definitely just kind of leave you with that when it comes to how important it is to be mindful of, protecting yourselves when it comes to being on the internet. And that's the rules that we follow as a brand as well. And honestly, like that's really kind of, what I wanted to leave you guys with. I'd love to answer any questions about my job, kind of how I got into this role, anything that, y'all want to ask, I'd love to answer.
How do you deal with like people when they might comment rudely on like somebody else's post and like say something bad about y'all? How do y'all deal with that?
So just to make sure I understand the question, it's how do we kind of go through when someone says a negative post about us?
Correct.
Yeah, so that's definitely, unfortunately, the world of social media. There's always going to be trolls on the internet. Usually, I have to kind of divide myself between my personal and business. So for me, I have to say, okay, if someone is tagging the Miami Dolphins after a loss, they are not telling Stuart, you are doing a bad job. They're just venting their frustration. So it's something that we do monitor in the sense of kind of what fan sentiment is so that we can pass it along to our PR, our public relations team, if there is something that we need to be mindful of. But usually we really try to ignore that. We have tools actually on our accounts that allow any of those kind of, hateful words, spam, negativity, that those comments can actually be muted so that other users cannot see them, which helps a lot as well.
Thank you, Stuart, for being here. Miss Culpepper here. I think I started after, but I have a question on social media. It's so instantaneous, and I was looking at that as the players are running off the field and stuff, yet you guys have a protocol you go through. How fast are you able to get your posts out when you're in the moment on the field and that sort of thing? Do you have a whole team there that's reviewing this, or how does that process go?
Yeah, so I think that kind of goes back to that step-by-step process of, really evaluating what we're trying to accomplish. So for that, that's a great example of something that we were able to film and post in under 3 minutes. And that is where, kind of me being with the organization for as many years as I have been, I kind of understand what we're trying to post out, what we should probably be staying away from. For that reason, there's definitely a protocol on select posts that need to be reviewed by our PR team. We all agree if it's a press release for a player signing, for example, we will we have a group chat that it's like, okay, we're signing this player, we'll be announcing it at 3:50 p.m. Is everyone on the same page? Check, check, check. And then, we will then over communicate, okay, social has gone live with it, web has gone live with it, PR has gone live with it. So there are protocols for select post. Game day, I would say, is probably one of our more flexible days, especially because you do need to be in the moment when it comes to posting about a game. We're kind of competing with the fans, the NFL, the TV broadcast. So finding those moments that we can capitalize on are really important.
In case the students haven't seen the Dolphins Instagram page, can you share that screen with them, Stuart, so that they can see?
Absolutely.
And are you down there with a camera yourself, or your phone yourself, or how does that work?
So we actually have a team of about 15 creatives, photo, video, and social. So it really kind of depends on the game, home and away. It also depends on the weather is actually a big thing too. And then also pre-game versus in-game versus post-game. Usually my team and we're down on the field pre-game and post-game, and then we let our photo and video team handle the in-game content. So let me share, let's see. So there we go. So this is our Instagram account. So like I said, this has 1.7 million followers. You can also see our other sub accounts that we oversee as well that are linked to the Dolphins. And kind of, can go through a few of these posts, but you can see that there's a lot of different content. There's some graphics, photos, player signings, statistics, fan content. We also are on Hard Knocks right now. So there's just a lot of content that we have going out. One thing that we like to do is try to educate our fans on how our players are doing in a way that doesn't feel, super analytical or robotic. But so we try to do these posts that have stats incorporated into them, but also showing the celebration or game action. So I'm not sure how many of y'all are on Instagram. Like, what is yours? I guess, are you guys on Instagram? Is anyone on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, anything like that?
Do any of you have an Instagram account? Snapchat?
I have Snapchat.
Snapchat. So this is a
Is
sixth
that
grade.
Yeah.
And
So it's interesting.
Sorry, how about
Go
Facebook? No, that's a definite no, Stuart.
That's a definite no?
Social media account.
So
And
it's funny because social media, it's interesting that you guys bring that up, because what we do is we look at the analytics of where our fans are. So I would definitely say that Facebook is an older demographic. I mean, I'm really not on Facebook as much as I used to be. But I would say like my primary social accounts that I'm on are Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. And that's one thing we also have to kind of be wary of is like, this is going to make me sound, I guess, old, but Snapchat wasn't around when I first got into social media. So I helped create like an initial social media or an initial Snapchat account for Auburn University. And then TikTok wasn't a thing. And then we created, these new accounts. So we have to learn what fans are, what the audience is for each of these accounts. So, if you're on Snapchat, that's totally different content that we would want to post out compared to something on Facebook because of that audience demographic and looking at those numbers. So that is something that, we have to be aware of. What's the next, social media platform that could become a reality? We're not 100% sure, but we will always want to kind of stay on our toes with that.
Have you guys thought about how artificial intelligence is going to impact any of your social media accounts or anything like that? Because we are right on the cusp of that blooming out.
Yeah, have any of y'all played with any of the AI tools from like I know Microsoft has a few. Has any of y'all looked into that?
I've tried it out.
Yeah,
Not great.
we're gonna get to that come post spring break, but
Nice.
so brand new.
Yeah, so it's actually a really interesting thing that you bring up because our HR team just sent out updated AI policies for the organization. From a social media perspective, right now we are not using AI due to the fact that there are so many copyright and ownership laws. If, people are pulling from an AI generator that is pulling things from different artists without their permission, and then we post it, there could be, we could be getting into trouble there. So there are tools that are allegedly coming from Microsoft and Adobe, which we do have deals with. However, it's still such a new space and it seems like it's changing 24/7 that, we're kind of still testing the waters there, but none of our content right now has AI in it due to the fact that there are just kind of those back and forth with ownership rights.
Do you guys have any other questions for Stuart? I take the perspective of I can teach them today's technology, but I have no idea what it's going to be like for them in 6 years when they graduate high school and go on to college. So I try to help them just know how to problem solve and go with what they can do now, knowing that it's going to change. Is there any suggestions you give them? Because you're living in a world that's constantly changing.
Yeah, definitely. So, I think the biggest thing, when it comes to social media, the internet, technology in general, it's moving faster than it ever has before. I think that there's going to be more platforms that are coming out. I do think AI will be a big piece of that. And so I think the biggest thing from my perspective is, you want to stay kind of in the know of what is going on in the world, but also just and also just be a little bit cautious as well. If there's a new platform that comes out and all of your friends are saying like, hey, get on this, like it could be something that, might not be the most secure platform that could lead into, passwords being compromised, things like that. I definitely am dating myself because I know a lot of people don't use Twitter like it used to be used, but I use Twitter a lot of ways to find news and updates within the technology space. But I would definitely just say, kind of, when um things are being launched, and new platforms being launched, a new type of AI. I have no idea what's going to be next. Just kind of, it's always good to be a little bit cautious of, what is this before fully diving into it, and giving, all of your information out, when it comes to that.
What's a typical day look like for you at the office?
Yep. So I'm actually at the stadium, based out of the stadium. So I can kind of flip my screen and you can see the football field. Let's see.
Oh, that's
So-
so cool.
So I'm actually in our press box right now. So the stadium, so we work out of the stadium, which is something I, kind of forget how cool it is to be able to walk out onto the field every day if I wanted to. So for me, it's really gathering our content calendar. So we plan out our posts. Like I said, the planning piece is really huge for us. And I always compare our content calendar to a puzzle, because with social media, things come up, trends happen, items happen. So from my perspective, having our content calendar is kind of your edges and your corners of the puzzle. And if you have those set, that then you will be able to have a few, you'll be able to fill in like the things that happen in the moment with kind of those middle pieces. So there's a lot of planning. So right now we're planning for our game against the Commanders in Washington on the road. So We have specific graphics we have to get ready. We have some video copy that we need to do. We have 2 press conferences today. And then with Formula One, we also are wrapping up a Cyber Monday deal that we were running. The season just ended. So how can we evaluate going into the new season for Formula One? So there's definitely, it's a lot of content calendar planning, and then also that evaluation piece is really big. So I lead all of our social media analytics. So seeing what platforms people are engaging with and how can we adjust that strategy to be more focused on that. So for example, TikTok and Instagram are our highest growing audiences on Miami Dolphins in the last 3 months. So, okay, do we need to take a step back from posting as much on Facebook and really putting a larger emphasis on where the audience is growing, which is Instagram and TikTok? Um, so yeah, I would say, every day is different in social media. That's the one thing I do like about it, is that there is a lot of things that, continue to change and evolve. No day is the same. I mean, one day we could have, oh, so and so, celebrity is wanting to come by the stadium and get a jersey and take a photo on the field. Okay, we'll go down there, take a photo. We'll have Formula One. We've had a Formula One driver come and tour the facility. We've had announcements for World Cup, etc. So really every day can be different there.
Stuart, can you share your path? I know that Stuart was a very good athlete and a very good soccer player. You mentioned that you started off with the league in Central Florida, Orlando. What drew you? And honestly, at that point, that all social media and athletics using social media was relatively new. So you've watched it change. But what drew you, and how was your path? How did you find your path and find this as a career?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I've always been a sports addict. Like, I mean, Florida State football was my bread and butter growing up. I went to every single game. At home, I would, I learned the entire roster. So I loved college football. I still do love college football. And I just love sports. And when I went to Auburn, I was a communications major, and I was very much struggling of like, I don't know 100% what I want to do. Do I go into marketing? Do I go into PR? And social media had just started to become an actual full-time job. It wasn't run by an intern or a marketing assistant. Like, there were actually starting to be social media jobs. So I reached out to the assistant athletic director at Auburn, who was the head of digital media at the time. And I said, I think that this is what I want to do. Um, and I would love to like learn and see if it is the right fit. Because bringing, I love technology, I love social media, I love news, and I love sports. So being able to marry those two together was like the perfect thing for me. So with that, I was able to intern my senior year of college with the athletics department, working for football. And then I asked to stay on to do more sports. So I did basketball, baseball, softball, gymnastics, because I just wanted to learn to make sure that this is truly what I wanted. And, I was able, like I said, we created the first Snapchat account. We created graphics and tweets and posts leading up to the game, showing the game day experience. And that was very instrumental for me to be able to say, okay, this is what I want to do full time. And so I got the role with Orlando City Soccer Club. I started right after I graduated, and I was there for a year and a half. I had a great experience, and then this opportunity with the Dolphins came up. And it's funny, I was never really an NFL fan. I really liked what the Dolphins did on social media, but I was not really an NFL fan. But I really wanted to learn how to I wanted to learn from what I thought at the time was the best. And, I've been here now 7 years, which is pretty crazy. And we've been able to take on more projects. I mean, Formula One wasn't even a thought when we first got here. We acquired the tennis tournament. So one big thing I would say is, like, in any sort of role or job, you might not be getting your dream job right out of college, but being able to learn, and adjust and adapt is probably the most important thing that I have learned in my time here.
That's great advice. What's your top 2 or 3 posts that you have felt most successful for you and most proud of?
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, hmm. So I would say that the Super Bowl was here right before the pandemic started. It was like the final sports event before everything happened. And so we had the Super Bowl here and we were able to display the stadium, and like it was an interesting, switch because we were not representing a team, we were representing the venue. So being able to cover the Super Bowl for from the stadium perspective was really, really special. I would definitely say Jalen Waddle's Fins for the Win uh video that he does after every game that we win has turned into a really unique moment for me, being able to film him as he's running, and he like now knows that it's kind of this thing that he needs to do because the fans love it and he enjoys it too. And then also I think um you know, I it's not really a post, but it's been very fortunate to be able to get to know people within the organization, like um specifically, he's just a really you know, good guy. I mean, all of the guys are just really good guys, and I think for me being able to um see kind of who they are outside of the football space has been really unique, and it makes you want to root for them even more. I mean, I love doing my job on a Sunday, posting about these guys, but then when like the human behind kind of the scenes there, it makes you feel like even more proud of that win, and knowing all the people behind the scenes, your coaches, your assistants, your medical trainers, everyone in that building is making sure that those guys get out there so that they can, be set up to hopefully get a win. And that makes it, very impactful as well.
It truly does take a team. All of the behind the scenes is just as important as the product is the football game and the football players playing. But it takes a lot to get that on the field, get them on the field, and have the game go off without a hitch and have them perform home and away. Do you go to the away games?
Yep. So I travel with the team. I'm actually checking off. I think I have like only two more stadiums left that I have not been to, Washington being one of them. So I do travel with the team. And that's been a really unique experience too. When it comes to, you get there to the hotel has everything, ready to go. Everyone has their keys in an envelope, their room assignments. Here's the map of the layout of the hotel. Um, hey, the players' meal times are this. Here's where the meal room is. Here's where the wide receiver meeting room is. Here's where the defensive line meeting room is. So just to be able to see that operation, like it's unbelievable what the football ops side of things does. And I have such an appreciation for it, and I really can't imagine how it is for specifically colleges too, because they have double the amount of players. And so it really takes a village to make sure that, these guys are set up for success.
1,000%. It is a very large endeavor to, especially when you say that go traveling. Have you gotten to meet some of the Formula One and tennis players as well? I've been down to the Miami Open. It's a fantastic event. I love it there. It's really nice.
Yep. So I've been able to meet a few of the drivers. I've been able to meet Pierre Gasly and the Ferrari drivers. And then we've had interactions with Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, but it's really interesting seeing, it's such a difference. It's a totally different sport. So it's really interesting kind of seeing the differences there. Miami Open, not as many players that I have met, but I've been able to, cover some really great matches. Especially when before Roger Federer retired, he did win the event in our inaugural year, I believe. So that was a really unique experience as well.
Do you all have any other questions for Stuart? Sam, do you have any other questions?
She covered a great amount of information.
Oh, I had one other question. Do you travel on the team plane and do they have a private plane?
Yes, so we do travel private on a very large double-decker plane. And it is pretty sweet, not gonna lie. It is, like, it fits the entire team, which is probably, and when you include support staff, it's probably over 120 people. So, we do fly on a, charter plane, yes.
And go out to the tarmac and all that special
Yep,
treatment. It's awesome. That's very, very
yeah,
cool. And you most
yeah.
recently went to Europe with the team too, is that right? Where do they play in Europe?
We played in Frankfurt, Germany. So we went out on Monday afternoon following our Patriots game. And we were in Germany through the game. One thing that I did not know about football teams is that right after the game, like you leave, like you don't stay the night, like you head out. So we get home at very obscure times. Um, so for Germany, we got home, I think around like 2 o'clock in the morning because we left right after the game. But Germany was really incredible. I'd never been before. We were able to kind of go take in the city. And it was a really good opportunity to obviously show the game internationally to people. The stadium was insane. The fans were super loud. Obviously, I wish we could have won, but it was still a really, really awesome experience.
That's fantastic. Can we take you back a bit and ask you a favorite memory or two of Holy Comforter, or some things that stayed with you through your time now that you're an adult and working?
Yeah, so I was actually thinking about that. I don't know if they still do birthday chapel, but or when they bring everyone up to do birthdays, but I do like vividly remember that because I had a summer birthday and I would always get, I think, pretty jealous of people who had birthdays during the season or during the school year. So I think that it was either right as the school year started or right when the school year was ending. But I remember this was at the old campus, like being called up there with the birthday crown. That was like one thing I definitely vividly remember. I remember when we made the move to the new campus, which is now the campus. It's not new anymore. I remember my 8th grade Washington, D.C. trip, the 5th grade Smokies trip as well. Those were like very um big moments for me because being away from my parents, that was something that I was big for me. Do you guys still, is the 5th grade Smokies trip still a thing?
Yes.
Have y'all gone yet, or is it upcoming?
We went last year.
Okay, cool. So do they make you guys still do the solo hike?
Yes.
Okay, so was anyone scared of that? Because I definitely was, and I was just um, like I don't know, like, only a few years, like I'm like what, 10, 12 years old, and I'm walking by myself. So I do remember that. That is something I vividly remember because I was so excited to see the rest of the group when I got down the hike. So, I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, I definitely remember playing, plenty of backyard football during recess. I remember drop everything and read days too, I think is what it was. But yeah, no, I know that there's definitely those trips. I would say the 8th grade Washington DC trip and the Smokies trip were two memories that I definitely um think of.
And are you still friends with some of your friends from Holy Comforter?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting because, even though um everyone's like kind of in different places, it's, you still have those relationships. So I would definitely say, value those, especially if you're going with your group of friends onto the same high school, like you have that connection of like knowing those people, which I think is really important.
This has been so fun. It's been such a treat to have you and to have you share with our students. It's been phenomenal. So thank you so much for taking your time. I know you're extremely busy, but we all really appreciate you. Can we all give her some applause and thank her so much?
We have one
Happy
more.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember some of your teachers, like their names and stuff? Like who are the teachers
So
when you went to the Smokies?
for the Smokies, Miss Glass, Miss Tebow, Miss Ligon, I'm trying to think from 8th grade, Miss Vernon, Miss Young, Miss
Jay,
Peebles. I'm trying to think, I can picture, and I can probably tell you every single one of my elementary school teachers for sure. And like Miss Robinson, Miss Joannis, Miss Casares, Miss Joannis again, Miss Russell in 3rd grade,
Miss Russell's
Miss
still
Neal in
here.
4th grade. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So
And of course, Amy is the head of the middle school now. Did you know that?
yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. She was my civics teacher for 8th grade.
that's so awesome. Do we have any other questions? Thank you so very much. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
glad
Y'all
to
have
take
a great rest of your day.
the lane with you and hear about what you do. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Stuart.
Stuart.
For
Thank
sure.
you.
Fins up, right?
Fins up. Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.